Bring Me the Horizon is a band that I've never talked about on my channel, and since they released a new song titled DIE4U, I thought this would be a good time to do so. These guys keep pushing the envelope, taking their sound to a place where few bands would have the guts to go to. I was never a big fan of theirs, with an exception of few songs, and the latest two releases, Ammo and Post-Human Survival Horror, with the latter one being my favorite release of theirs. With that record they managed to accomplish a lot of things. They tastefully combined electronic music with elements of pop and ambient, expensive modern sound, while keeping some of their songs quite heavy yet catchy and well written. And sometimes they manage to do it all in one song, while keeping it digestible and coherent. And it's something that is quite hard to accomplish. As time passes, many bands that have been around for a while try to drastically change their sound, and very few succeed, especially trying to incorporate these pop and electronic elements into their sounds. Bands like 30 Seconds to Mars, Fall Out Boy, Muse and even Korn with The Path of Totality, when they jumped on board with the dubstep trend like 10 years ago. All these bands kinda failed, where Bring Me the Horizon succeeded. Especially with Survival Horror, I think they accomplished something very special, and I think this was the release that was supposed to win the Album of the Year, not freaking Machine Gun Kelly, who did not bring anything new or unique to the table. Now let's get to DIE4U. Bring Me the Horizon have written quite a few poppy songs. In fact, if you don't know who they are and you happen to hear some of their lighter songs on the radio, you take them for some pop or pop rock act, which they are not, since their sound ranges from deathcore to pop rock, out metal to electronic rock and anything in between. It's quite hard to pigeonhole their sound. With DIE4U they went quite heavy into the pop aspect of their sound and kinda mixed it with their middle of the road melodic sound. It's not too heavy, but not too light as well. But the heavy aspect boils down to Ollie's vocals on this one. Most seem to compare the intro of this song to Justin Bieber, but to me, it's not a thought or comparison that comes to mind because I don't listen to Justin Bieber, so he is absolutely irrelevant to me in this conversation. I will not compare this song to any other band because here we have Bring Me the Horizon doing what they do best, experiment and get good results. Something that a lot of bands these days struggle with. I don't think there is a need for me to break down the song in great detail, because in its core it's rather simple, but I will highlight some of my favorite parts and parts that I did not like as much. Something that catches my ear straight out of the gate is not that it sounds like pop, but Ollie's vocal line where he intentionally rolls those R's, which gives his vocals this Eastern European accent. I find that interesting considering that the heroes of this music video speak in Ukrainian, so I think it's an interesting creative choice that many seem to overlook. I also like those vocal effects at the end of every line in the first verse. Even though this is definitely voice manipulation courtesy of Jordan Fish, these small details is really what makes Bring Me the Horizon's recent efforts engaging and interesting to listen to, despite the predictable song structures. Now the chorus is very simple, catchy, and is something that Ollie will actually be capable of singing live. You see, you don't always have to shout at the top of your lungs to make a chorus catchy and memorable. The second verse is different from the first one, and it really leans into that pop-punk feel, which has been making somewhat of a comeback since 2020. So these guys have their fingers on the pulse of the industry, and they successfully implement this trend into DIE4U. Another moment I like is that after the second chorus they have this cool down section that goes into a build-up, so naturally one would expect a breakdown of some sorts, but guys decided to keep it light and instead went into a solo, which I think was a good choice and a nice change of pace. The solo is simple, but the guitar has an interesting and unique effect, so it does the job. Now, the weakest part of the song to me is easily the lyrics. They are very much pop inspired, and if you consider the overall sound of the song, it totally makes sense, but it does not change the fact that they are very generic, and I know that Ollie can do better than this. Especially since he recently mentioned that this song means a lot to him, as it speaks about his battles with addiction, something he has been vocal about in the past. But if you are not aware of the true context of these lyrics, you would naturally assume that this is just another love song about an unhealthy relationship. Another thing I did not like is that synth melody at the start. Yes, it's very much pop 2021. I would even go as far as calling it a K-pop influenced element. It just sounds a little cringy to me. Other than that, I think it's a solid track for what it is. Even though I must say it's not my favorite, and it's probably not targeted at someone of my age group. I feel like it's purposefully targeted at teenagers. And I think the same goes for the music video. It very much feels like a 5-minute long TikTok video, especially in the parts where the music actually plays, because we get like a solid minute of cutscenes without music. This video was directed by Ollie Sykes, and overall I think he did a decent job, but some parts of the video feel a little too disorienting considering how light the song is. It just feels like it's a little much with constant bright colors and chaotic movements, but then again, if you consider the subject of the song, it might be done on purpose. But I think that the editing in the very least could have been done a little better. Now the band is working on more new music for their series of EPs that are going to consist of 4 parts. And I'm looking forward to more music from Bring Me the Horizon, and I hope to hear even more risk-taking with their upcoming release. Now, people who are still watching, what did you think of this song? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave your thoughts in the comments section. If you are new here, please consider subscribing if this type of content is your cup of tea, and don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. I hope to see you in the next one, and take care.